All right, let's talk about something that gives every homeowner a little bit of a heart attack, a crack in the concrete. You see it in your foundation, your garage floor, and you just get that sinking feeling, right? Well, good news, fixing it doesn't have to be a huge headache. Today, we're going to break down the two main players in the concrete repair game, epoxy and polyurethane. We'll figure out exactly which one you need for your specific crack. So when you're looking at that crack, the very first thing you've got to figure out is, what is it really? Is it just a little leak, a nuisance, or is it something more serious, like a threat to the structure of your home? Because let me tell you, the answer to that question changes everything. It tells you exactly what tool to reach for. And if you pick the wrong one, well, you could be setting yourself up for some major trouble later on. Okay, so we've got one problem, a crack, but there are two totally different ways to solve it. It's kind of like having a super specialized toolbox. You wouldn't grab a sledgehammer for a finishing nail, right? Same idea here. So let's meet our two solutions. First up, we have epoxy. Now, the absolute best way to think about epoxy is like a welder, but for concrete. It's this two-part mix, right? You've got your resin and your hardener. You mix them together and boom, a chemical reaction kicks off that creates this unbelievably strong, rigid bond. Its whole job, its entire mission in life, is to restore strength and basically make that concrete one solid piece again. And then you've got its counterpart, polyurethane. If epoxy is the tough-as-nails welder, think of polyurethane as the clever, flexible plumber. This stuff is usually a single-part foam, and it has this awesome party trick. It actually reacts with water. It sees moisture, and it starts expanding, foaming up to fill every nook and cranny of that crack. It creates this flexible, totally watertight seal. So you can see its goal isn't strength. It's all about stopping water, dead in its tracks. All right, you've met the team. Now it's time to put them in the ring, head to head. This is really the ultimate matchup. Raw strength versus amazing flexibility. So here's the bottom line, the main difference you've got to remember. Epoxy, it's all about making things strong and rigid again, bringing back that structural integrity. But polyurethane, that's your flexible friend. It's designed to seal things up and keep water out, and it can even handle a little bit of movement in the concrete. Okay, this chart really lays it out nice and clear. Let's look at strength. Epoxy is it's off the charts. We're talking stronger than the original concrete. No contest. But then you look over at flexibility, and that's where polyurethane is the undisputed champ. It can move and stretch, which is something a rigid epoxy just can't do. And then, and this is so important, look at the conditions they need. Epoxy demands a dry surface to work its magic, but polyurethane, it actually wants water. It uses the water to expand and create that seal. Totally opposite approaches. You know, we really need to stop and think about this for a second. When we say epoxy bonds concrete better than its original strength, what does that even mean? This isn't just like putting spackle in a wall. No way. When you use epoxy the right way, you're not just filling a gap. You are chemically welding the concrete back together. The repair itself becomes the strongest part of the entire slab. That's a huge deal. And this right here, this is polyurethane's superpower. Just picture this. You've got a basement wall, and there's water actively trickling through a crack. It's a nightmare scenario. You can't possibly use epoxy, right? It needs to be bone dry. But this is where polyurethane shines. It actually thrives in the wet. It hunts down that water, reacts with it, and foams up to plug the leak from the inside out. It just stops the water, period. So let's geek out for just a second. Why is epoxy so ridiculously strong? Well, this chart gives us the answer. It creates something called covalent bonds. Basically, it's chemically fusing with the concrete. It's not just sticking to it. It's becoming part of it on a molecular level. Polyurethane is different. It uses what's called mechanical adhesion. Think of it like super strong Velcro. It's gripping onto the rough surfaces inside the crack. It's effective for sure, but it's just not that same deep, permanent chemical marriage that you get with epoxy. Okay, so what about when you're actually doing the work? How fast does this stuff set? Well, generally, polyurethane is going to be the faster of the two. Since it's triggered by moisture, it starts working almost immediately, especially in those damp basements where it's most at home. Epoxy, on the other hand, is a little more, let's say, particular. Its curing time really depends on the temperature, and it takes a bit more patience to let it reach that full, unbelievable strength. All right, we've gone through all the details, the what, and the why. So now, the big question, how do you choose? Let's put together a super simple guide to help you make the perfect call for your situation. Time to get practical. Here we go. It's a simple 3-step diagnostic test.
Just ask yourself these questions. Step 1. Do I need strength? Is this crack making me worry about the stability of the foundation? If you're thinking yes, then epoxy should be at the top of your list. Step 2. Is it wet? Is water actively coming through that crack as we speak? If so, forget everything else. Polyurethane is your answer. And finally, step 3. Is it going to move? Is this crack in a spot that might shift a bit with temperature changes, like a control joint? If it is, you'll need that flexibility that only polyurethane can give you.
Okay, let's boil all of this down into one final, super simple takeaway. This is your crack repair cheat sheet. So here it is. You choose epoxy for those big, scary structural repairs in dry conditions. Need maximum strength, maximum stability. You need the welder. And you choose polyurethane when you've got water coming in, or when you know that crack is going to move and shift over time. You need a flexible, watertight seal. You need the plumber. Honestly, it's that straightforward. And there you have it. The next time you see a crack, you're not just going to see a problem. You're going to see a diagnosis. You now understand what that crack is trying to tell you, and you know exactly which specialized tool you need to fix it for good. So go take a look. What is your crack telling you?